Good morning. Welcome to Good Friday. Last night we left Jesus in the garden, and this morning we join him on his journey to his arrest, his trial, and his crucifixion. This is going to be a short reflection, suitable for the whole family. Please do join us. Pause the video at points to answer the questions and consider the events of this day.
Once every year, the people of God go up to Jerusalem to celebrate the feast of the Passover. To remember how God led them through the waters to freedom. Every year, Jesus celebrated the Passover feast in Jerusalem with his family and friends. But this year, Jesus' friends did not want to go. They were afraid. They said to Jesus, "Don't go. People in Jerusalem want to kill you." But Jesus said, "We must go." When the day of Passover came, some of Jesus' friends went to an upper room and prepared the feast. When evening came, Jesus and his friends went to the upper room. They were still afraid. Then Jesus said the words of the feast in a way they had never heard before. Jesus took the bread. He blessed it. He broke it. And he gave it to his friends. "Take, eat," he said. "This is my body, broken for you." Then he took the cup of wine, and he blessed it, and he gave it to them and said, "Drink this, all of you. This is my blood, shed for you." Then they sang a hymn and went out to a garden to pray. Then it happened. People who didn't like Jesus took him. They wouldn't let him go. Later, they nailed him to a cross to kill him. Jesus died. It was very sad. But 3 days later, God did an amazing thing. God made Jesus alive again. So every time we eat this bread and drink this cup, we remember Jesus and that God made him alive again.
Take a moment to consider these questions and answer them together. I wonder how it felt to be around this table and to hear Jesus say, "Take, eat. This is my body broken for you." I wonder how the disciples felt eating the bread and drinking the wine. I wonder how they felt when Jesus died. I wonder how they felt when they heard God made Jesus alive again. I wonder if you have ever been close to a table like this. I'm going to read the account of Jesus' crucifixion from Mark's Gospel, starting in chapter 15. As soon as it was morning, the chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council. They bound Jesus, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate. Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" He answered him, "You say so." Then the chief priests accused him of many things. Pilate asked him again, "Have you no answer? See how many charges they bring against you." But Jesus made no further reply, so that Pilate was amazed. Now at the festival he used to release a prisoner for them, anyone for whom they asked. Now a man called Barabbas was in prison with the rebels who had committed murder during the insurrection. So the crowd came and began to ask Pilate to do for them according to his custom. Then he answered them, "Do you want me to release for you the king of the Jews?" For he realized that it was out of jealousy that the chief priests had handed him over. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have him release Barabbas for them instead. Pilate spoke to them again. "Then what do you wish me to do with the man you call the king of the Jews?" They shouted back, "Crucify him." Pilate asked them, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Crucify him." So Pilate, wishing to satisfy the crowd, released Barabbas for them, and after flogging Jesus, he handed him over to be crucified. Then the soldiers led him into the courtyard of the palace, that is the governor's headquarters, and they called together the whole cohort. And they clothed him in a purple cloak, and after twisting some thorns into a crown, they put it on him. And they began saluting him, "Hail, King of the Jews!" They struck his head with a reed, spat upon him, and knelt down in homage to him. After mocking him, they stripped him of the purple cloak and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him out to crucify him. They compelled a passer-by who was coming in from the country to carry his cross. It was Simon of Cyrene, the father of Alexander and Rufus. Then they brought Jesus to the place called Golgotha, which means the skull. And they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it. And they crucified him and divided his clothes among them, casting lots to decide what each should take. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. The inscription of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." And with him they crucified 2 bandits, one on his right and one on his left. Those who passed by derided him, shaking their heads and saying, "Ah, you who would destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the cross." In the same way, the chief priests, along with the scribes, were also mocking him among themselves and saying, "He saved others, he cannot save himself. Let the Messiah, the King of Israel, come down from the cross now, so that we may see and believe." Those who were crucified with him also taunted him. When it was noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon. At 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of the bystanders heard it, they said, "Listen, he is calling for Elijah." And someone ran and filled a sponge with sour wine, put it on a stick and gave it to him to drink, saying, "Wait, let us see whether Elijah will come down to take him." Then Jesus gave a loud cry and breathed his last. And the curtain of the temple was torn in 2 from top to bottom. Now, when the centurion who stood facing him saw that in this way he breathed his last, he said, "Truly this man was God's son." Lord, what would we have done? Would we have fallen asleep and then run away terrified like the disciples in Gethsemane? Thank you that you forgive us for our weakness when we opt out and run away from conflict and cost. Lord, what would we have done? Would we have shouted Hosanna on one day and crucify on another? Forgive us when we fail you, because it is easier to follow the crowd. Lord, what would we have done? Would we have been harsh and judgmental like the Pharisees? Forgive us when we are quick to condemn or hide behind legalism. Lord, what would we have done? Would we have been like the soldiers, hard and callous, just doing their job? Forgive us when we act blindly and unthinkingly without considering the effect our behaviour has on others. Lord, what would we have done? Would we have slunk away ashamed from the horror of Calvary? We thank you that you forgive us when we let you down, and that your love is stronger than all the evil we could throw at you. Lord, accept these prayers offered in your name. Amen.